What's up, y'all? My name is Prince and I'm an urban acolyte. In the month of August, I'm going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, here on Urban Acolyte TV. There's a Facebook post, and I've got a link to that post down in the video description where you can leave your questions or topics that you'd like me to consider in the 31 videos that I'm going to do for the 31 days in August. Yes, I know I haven't uploaded, what is today, the 17th. I haven't uploaded 17 videos. Hey man, I still got 2 weeks to go. You guys don't know this, but I returned to my old job, and my schedule has been crazy. So once my schedule flattens out, I'll have time to get caught up on videos. Or if things are crazy between work and training, you know, doing the actual Golden Bell training, Urban Acolyte thing, getting this Urban Acolyte Academy built up. If I'm too worn out from that, and I have been some days, then there won't be a video. But I'm gonna have some days where I'll be able to get caught up. So, you know, maybe you'll see 2 videos posted some days this month. Anyway, this topic has to do with Luke Skywalker's death in The Last Jedi. If you don't know, on my channel, I talk about the Taoist themes in Star Wars. That's what I've been doing from the birth of this channel. So somebody was like, you're misrepresenting what you do. I came here for Star Wars. Hey man, if you couldn't tell from day one that I've been on a different kind of operating on a different kind of wavelength, that's your own fault, man. That ain't my fault. Hey man, I market the channel a certain kind of way, and if people get attracted to the channel that I'm not actually marketing to, that aren't actually the audience that I'm trying to attract, hey man, that's bonus. Those are bonus views, right? But I'm specifically, from day one have been talking about that. That's how the whole Urban Acolyte thing got created. Just go look at my Golden Bell training channel, because that's how Urban Acolyte got started. It got started on my Golden Bell training, on my fitness and meditation and martial arts channel. But this particular question that I'm answering is coming from my man Niger, who I know personally. He was my admissions counselor when I attended Vanderbilt Divinity School. He's also a graduate of Vanderbilt Divinity, and he's great at my papers at times, and kind of been an instructor at times, leading lectures for some of my courses, right? So I know this dude personally. So he says that over on Twitter, he said, Prince, Taoists say we are eternal and the afterlife is part of life itself. We are of the Tao, the way of the natural order of the universe, when alive, and of the Tao when dead. Only light side users become Force ghosts, but why can't Luke talk with Han Solo in the other part of life? And so the question is, one, you know, why did Luke become one with the Force, and why can't he talk with Han Solo? I mean, the basic answer is because, well, Han Solo isn't one with the Force in the way that Luke willingly became one with the Force, the way that Luke willingly chose to die, right? He said, I came to Ahch-To to die. I came here to die, right? And at that time, it was all doom and gloom, death and despair. I've cut myself off from the Force. And then after his little pep talk with Yoda, right, it's, you know, pass on what you've learned, not only wisdom, but folly too, you know. And then Luke realized, hey man, I've got to do exactly what I said I wasn't going to do. I'm going to do the most badass thing, the most Jedi thing possible, and face down the entire First Order with a laser sword. And that's what he did, but he didn't, right? That's kind of the duality within Taoism, within also the teachings, the sayings of Jesus of Nazareth. Because if you look at what Jesus actually says, a lot of times he puts opposite things together. First shall be last, right? A poor woman will tear up her house to find riches. Well, she's poor. Why is she doing all of these things to find wealth? And she already owns it. It's like, well, I have nothing, and I'm going to turn everything upside down to find everything. And it turns out that I had everything all along. Right? And Lao Tzu says the similar thing, right? Niger, you're basically saying that, with your post. So you're doing the whole mystic thing, the whole James Cone mystic thing, that the Tao does say that we are eternal. It does say that afterlife, that death is part of life, and what comes after death is part of life as well, and part of death, part of that cycle, right? Now, Taoism is about nature, and in nature, everything that lives dies, but nature continues. And if we are part of nature, then we continue as well. The great Taoist mystic philosopher Alan Watts talks about, we come one day, we think we're nothing, and then one day when we start to realize knowledge of self, we look out into the universe, into the cosmos, and we realize that true knowledge of self means that we are part of that cosmos, right? When we point to the moon, when that finger, it's like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't focus on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory, right? Everybody who watches the other channel, the Golden Bell Training channel, where we talk about the real nitty gritty stuff. I say that almost every video. I've been on this whole Bruce Lee thing, right? But when you see that heavenly glory, you realize that is part of you. You are part of it. And that is what the force is. Life creates it. It's a force. It's a force that is created by all of life, right? And so, when Luke is with Rey and she's, I see warmth, cold, I see life, I see death and decay, I see peace, I see violence, right? And what do you see? What is all of it? I see the force. And then look inside you, that same force. Dog, every time I see that scene, like I get teary-eyed, man. That's why The Last Jedi is beautiful, man. Like, people can hate on it, and I'm like, you can hate as much as you want, but to the haters, to the dorks and the pins crew, you can never steal the O out of my joy, man. That is the most preachy thing that y'all will ever hear me say, is that moment in The Last Jedi when Rey, when she's like, I see the force, and look inside you, that same force, right? That is like the most beautiful moment in Star Wars ever, right? That even tops like Yoda talking to, well, I won't say it tops it, because Luke has to learn that in order to pass that lesson on to Rey. So I'm not gonna go there. I'll say that Yoda, talking about, not this crude matter. We're not this crude matter. Luminous beings are we? Those are right up there. That is the Taoism in Star Wars. That is what I watch Star Wars for. I don't care about all the other stuff. Is Finn Force? I mean, that launched off my channel. If Nebu Heru and the rest of y'all brothers who watch me, if y'all want to leave Star Wars for that, holler. Don't watch me no more. Cause I don't need a black dude to be a Jedi to get something out of Star Wars, right? I watch Star Wars to see those messages and then to apply that to my own training, right? Luke doesn't need, or Finn doesn't need to be a Jedi and use the Force and have a lightsaber to give me hope, right? As the Buddha's final words were, be a hope to your own self. Take these lessons and apply them to your real life, which is what I'm trying to do here on that. That was the whole point of creating the Urban Acolyte, right? I wanted to create something that then people could, oh, I like Star Wars, I like martial arts. How do I take all of these things and merge them together and apply them to my real life so I can be something like a real life Jedi, a Jedi in the streets, right? But to touch on this, right, the Tao Te Ching, or Taoism, teaches that we are immortal. But the thing about Taoism is that Taoism's like Christianity. Christianity is not one thing. You have Christianities. You have it's plural, right? You have different levels, different flavors, different schools of Christianity, right? A Baptist is not a Presbyterian, is not a Methodist, is not a Lutheran, is not a Unitarian Christian, is not a Mormon, is not a Catholic, but they all call themselves Christian. But their doctrine, they have doctrinal differences, they have differences in practice. You have, people who say that, well, we have the final testament from some angel named Moroni, and Macaroni gave some dude in New York some silver plates and stuff. And then, and then he moved to Salt Lake City and he taught. And then we got guys like Ethan, the comic book artist, who can call out social justice warriors, but no one calls him out because he believes some macaroni angel gave some con artist some golden tablets and told him to go start a church somewhere else. And then they had to go to Utah and make a whole lot of guns in order to, I bet y'all didn't know that a whole lot of the Mormon community got wealthy off of making guns, right? I can't remember what is it Smith and Wesson or the Winchester rifle? I think it's the Winchester rifle. Somebody Google that. This is all stuff I'm passing on to y'all that I learned 20 years ago in undergrad. Shout outs to Professor Gerald Smith for teaching me all of that. I wish I could find my notes from 1999, 2000. Yeah, that was 2000. So yeah, 18 years ago. Surprised I remember that, right? But nobody calls them out, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble because there's a huge. If you want to get successful on YouTube, just a side note, start telling people that you're a Latter-day Saint, right? Because LDS channels, when people find out about them, they support them. Shay Carl and all of them, Daryl Leaves, shout out to Daryl Leaves, helped me get my start. Hey man, if you're Mormon and you're on YouTube, man, Mormons stick together. They loyal. But anyway, so I said I got on that tangent because within Taoism you have Taoisms, right? You have religious Taoism, you have philosophical Taoism, and then you have something that's kind of, I'm the one in the middle. You have the Bindu school of Taoism that's like religious Taoism and philosophical Taoism. A lot of martial artists from the West consider themselves philosophical Taoists. A lot of the translations of the Tao Te Ching are like philosophical Taoists, so it's like you don't really get the metaphysical stuff, the cultivation stuff. And when I'm talking about cultivation, I'm not talking about, oh, I just want to become a better person. No, I'm talking about like alchemy, right? And this starts to get into like dark Taoism, regular Taoism, really the things that I don't know if George Lucas initially went into Star Wars doing this, but this was how my Kung Fu brother, who's the father of all of this for me, he taught me all of this, during our Kung Fu classes and stuff back in Cali. The Sith are dark Taoists, right? I know my bro Roberto Blake sent me something and he said, George Lucas said the Sith were based on the West and Western Christianity. And I didn't say anything because I'm like, that's a conversation that is longer on, that I can't really have on Twitter. And I don't really want to, go there, with somebody I consider a friend, because maybe George Lucas did say that. George Lucas is the creator. Hey man, he can say what he wants, but within this stuff, the Sith are straight up, what they show are signs of dark Taoism. Dark Taoism, you do all kinds of alchemical practices, and the focus is on physical immortality, which is what the Sith do. They do sorcery and all this other stuff. All the Taoist wizardry stuff is like borderline dark Taoism. Of course, it all boils down to intent. My professor Sid Brown, when she was the first one to introduce me to dark Taoism during a lecture on Taoism, and she didn't really go into it, but she talked about like different sex rituals, stuff that they would do, to virgin girls to like steal their yin chi. So I mean, like to steal the dark side of the Force, the people's life force. And when you get into like the Star Wars video games, where they have like absorb Force abilities and life steal ability, where you're like stealing your health from your opponents, like Force drain, like that stuff is allegedly in part of dark Taoism, right? So there's that focus on like physical immortality. Then you have this other view of Taoism where, I'm going to use my man Costa Dineos from his Negung book. He says in this one particular passage, you'll have to read Negung, The Secret Teachings of the Warrior Sages. But this is on page 80. He said, later I found a passage in the Tao Te Ching that articulates the same concept. Those who retain their center endure. Those who die but continue to exist are immortal, right? It says immortals are people at this certain stage of training and who have managed to combine their yin and yang chi within their being. Like my master, that's John Chang. You can look up videos of him here on YouTube. Just type in John Chang Mopai Negung, Mopai, the Magus of Java, Negung, whatever. And he says, so his master has achieved this level of cultivation. As for the rest of us, the most we can hope for is this other level, which is a lower level before you merge the yin and yang. So in their particular school, the Mopai, and this is what I was saying, like Taoism has all these different kind of schools that teach different kind of things. So just because I say this school does it this way, another school might do it a different way, right? I've never heard of levels and all this other stuff in my particular school, which is a Dragon Gate sect, right? But my friend who belongs to another school that falls under the Dragon Gate sect, right? It's crazy. I told you there is not one Taoism. There's Taoisms, right? We thought we were the same lineage, and we started like comparing notes. And he was like, "We don't have that practice." What practice do you? Well, I don't know about that one, right? We started having, different things, right? But we're hearing that there's similar experiences. He says there's a point where you experience near death, right? And if you read the book on Wang Li Ping, who was my teacher, right? He reaches this point where it's near death. This is why, when we talk about, this is why like y'all will ask me stuff about, oh, Prince, teach me this, make a video on this practice. And I say, no, I'm not going to do that, right? Because if you do something, an example what is his name? He Dr. Yang Jwing Ming was on a podcast like 5 or 6 years ago, and he talked about a guy who wanted to learn turtle breathing from him, which turtles are, a big animal, spirit animal or whatever in Taoism, because they live long, right? So breathe like a turtle, you will extend your life, right? Part of that physical immortality thing. He learned turtle breathing from someone. Don't know if he learned it correctly or incorrectly. Don't know where he learned it from, but he suffocated and died from the practice, right? All this yoga stuff, man, like practicing cute little asanas and stuff. Hey, man, like I tell people, hey, be careful, because you could do these practices, not know what the hell you're doing, and mess yourself up, right? And so I come on YouTube and, I see some of these goofy Star Wars channels. Let's talk about Sith meditation today. I can teach y'all a straight up Sith meditation that I created. I used to do it. I fucking almost had a nervous breakdown, right? I got so fucking paranoid from kicking up, messing with my endocrines and endocrine glands that create, these hormonal responses that have, and if you change your body physiology, it's going to have an impact on how you think, right? All of the little psychotropic drugs and all of that. Hey man, if you know the right practices, you can reproduce those effects without the need of drugs. Just, knowing certain ways to breathe, certain mental states to put yourself in, and I'm not gonna teach that stuff, not on YouTube, and I'm not gonna teach it in person until I understand, okay, these are the complications you can have, and this is how I can help fix you if you do have those problems, right? I'm not trying to be responsible for someone who may already be on the verge of having a nervous breakdown or have a history, high diathesis, mental health issues in their family. They do some well, I learned this practice from Prince. I learned the Sith lightning practice from Prince. How to breathe in lightning from around me and channel it, through my chakras. And I wish I were making that up, but that is a practice. I'm not going to teach you guys, so don't ask, because that if you do it wrong, you'll fuck yourself up. I'm speaking from experience, right? But you do that, and maybe you have a bipolar, a manic episode and you go and kill someone, that karma falls on me, right? So that's why I don't talk about this stuff. But like I was saying, there's a side of Taoism that deals with that, and then there's a philosophical side, right? So the philosophical translation of what Costa said: understanding others is knowledge, understanding oneself is enlightenment, conquering others is power, conquering oneself is strength, contentment is wealth, forceful conduct is willfulness, not losing one's rightful place is to endure, to die but not be forgotten is longevity, right? So this is talking about just not losing one's rightful place is enduring, but to die and not be forgotten, that's immortality. So it's like, oh, well, if you leave behind, if your memory lives on, then you live on, right? And then the Guy Fu Feng translation: knowing others is wisdom, knowing the self is enlightenment, mastering others requires force, mastering the self needs strength. He who knows he has enough is rich. Perseverance is a sign of willpower. He who stays where he is endures. To die but not to perish is to be eternally present. So this gets into more knowledge of self, being aware of the present moment. So this is saying, like, get absorbed in the here and now, that side of philosophical Taoism, quasi-religious part, meaning your actual practice, your focus. Yes, you can know others and be wise, but to know yourself is the start of becoming enlightened, right? To focus on the present moment means you become part of the eternal Tao, the eternal now, right? And that is being eternally present. That is the path to immortality. But then you got this thing that Kosa is talking about, right? Those who preserve their center, the center being the Dantian, those who manage to preserve their life force, which gets into, I don't know, metaphysical training. It gets into things that training the martial arts, doing Neigong, the meditation. If you start to understand some other stuff out there, you know, Kundalini is part of some Taoist schools. When you start to do that, when you start really talking about the force as the force, meaning something tangible that you actually understand, can touch, to comprehend. Another way in the real world of talking about it is the flow, like the flow state. When you get into the flow state and stay there, the stream of consciousness, when you start to literally get your feet wet and walk out into the stream and become one with the stream, then you can start to become immortal. And that's what Luke Skywalker had achieved, right? That's why I had no problem with his death, because he'd entered the stream. And what I've heard is that a lot of people who once they entered the stream, I'm talking about real life people, it's like, you know, if you go too far into the stream, you don't come back. Like, part of the ego self doesn't come back. And eventually you're like, I just want to go there. And so in the end, a Taoist sheds his skin like a snake, and they become one with the Tao. And Luke Skywalker, he shed his robe like a snake shed his skin, and he became one with the Force. And there was no confusion, there was no conflict. As Rey said, he was at peace. He was one with the Force, right? Just like we learned Yoda and Obi-Wan, right? They had to face down their shadow, their dark side, and come to peace with that. For Luke, his final act was literally him facing the dark, facing his failure. I am facing my failure, I'm facing my failure, but I'm not facing my failure. But I am, because I'm still present. And I'm looking at Ben and letting Ben take out his anger on me to finish what he started when he tried to bring the roof down on Luke and kill him and wipe out the Jedi and become the dark side, because for whatever reason he feels that he'll take comfort, find solace in the dark side of the Force. And he just looked and said, hey, if you strike me down in anger, I will be with you always, and so will your father. The Force will be with you always. Your father is one with the Force, right? With the greater Force. I'll be one with the Force, but I'm a Jedi. I've had this training, and I'll always be able to come and visit you, whether you like it or not, to help you stay on the right track, because no one is truly ever gone. And where I go, because I'm one with the Force and your father is one with the Force, your father is there too. And I will be a reminder that you have the heart of Han Solo, even if you're focused on being Vader. And at the end, even Vader's compassion, his love for his son, made the good man Anakin Skywalker return. And Anakin, having transcended his dark side, his shadow self, also became one with the Force, right? And so that's really all I got to say. I don't know if this really answered any questions, but like I said, there's never a real answer. There's just always, you get more information to ask more questions. I hope this encourages you guys to take up a mindfulness practice, start meditating, and you know, people can say whatever they want, that I don't represent whatever I say. But in real life, this is the kind of conversation I'd have with you guys in real life if you approach me about Star Wars. I wouldn't say Star Wars something for maybe 30 seconds and then get into the real nitty gritty. So this was not Prince, the urban acolyte. This was like the real me having a conversation with you guys. I'm not going to edit any of this out. I'm just going to upload it the way it is, because I actually got to start getting ready for work. And I feel pretty trashed right now from my workout. And I got a long day ahead of me in the office. So anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you. Always. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Embark on the journey of becoming the hero of your own story and become a force for change in your community. Make sure to check out more videos from this channel, especially the one that YouTube has recommended for you. Anyway, that's all I got for this video. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you. Always.